Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the regular council meeting for May 13th. The time is now 7:30. Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
I'm here.
Councilman Fleming.
Here.
Councilman Muir.
Here.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Here.
Councilman Soltis.
Here.
Councilor Wright.
Here.
Mayor Grafstein.
I am here. The invocation and pledge of allegiance this evening will be led by Councilman Muir. I invite you to stand if you would like.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll try to make this very quickly. Hello? Sorry. I'll make this short since we have a lot of business to cover tonight. There's a lot of people here. Give us the wisdom and the courage and the common sense to make the right decisions and for the citizens of Madison Heights. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. First up, we have approval of the agenda, but I do just want to say this is going to be streamed out in the hall on the TVs there. So if you would like to not be so crowded in here, you are welcome to be out in the hall. When it is time for public comment, I will let you know, and you can come and take your 3 minutes here. So just want to put out there, you're welcome to stand here, but if you do want to go out to the hall where it's not as crowded, you're welcome to do that, and you will still get the opportunity to speak. Everyone will have 3 minutes, so just keep that in mind. And with that, are there any additions or deletions this evening for the agenda? No? All right, seeing none, then we're going to go to our first presentation. It is 2024 National Police Week. It's a proclamation.
Congress and the President of the United States have designated May the 15th as Police Officer Memorials Day in honor of those police officers who have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. The week in which it falls as Police Week, and therefore the mayor and council call upon the citizens of Madison Heights and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe May the 12th through the 18th as Police Week. And Police Chief Brent Lemeris is here to accept the proclamation.
It's very busy. I'll be very brief. So thank you to the mayor, the city council, the businesses and residents of Madison Heights. We appreciate your unwavering support. And of course, thank you to the hardworking police officers of the Madison Heights Police Department who consistently put themselves in harm's way to keep the city safe. Their tireless effort every night, every weekend, every holiday does not go unnoticed. We as humans often take for granted the comforts of feeling safe, happy, and protected. We go about our day with many of our thoughts focused on task-driven duties such as work projects, family obligations, and fast food meals. Meanwhile, our officers are patrolling, writing reports, and yes, sometimes tickets too, gathering statements, photographing evidence, and helping the community feel safe by providing all those comforts to us. Police Week is a time to reflect upon those who have served or are serving as a police officer, but especially those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A final thanks to those who have given their last breath to protect you and me. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, this evening we have 3 public hearings. The first one is from the city manager and the finance director. It's for the fiscal year 2025, the budget resolution and tax levy.
This public hearing is scheduled to receive public comments on the proposed budget, to appropriate funds, to establish the tax levy for budget appropriations, and to approve changes to the water and wastewater fees and other department fees. Although the city has the ability to levy 25.9381 mills, this budget is supported by a tax rate of 25.4572 for fiscal year 2025. The proposed tax rate is a reduction from 2024. This budget also includes a 4% increase in water and sewer rates, which are a pass-through of the rate increases from GLEWA and the GWK treatment. Pursuant to Section 8.4 of the city's charter, a resolution has been drafted which, if approved, will adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget, appropriate the funds, levy the property tax, and approve the fee adjustments. Following the public hearing, staff recommends that council approve the fiscal year 2025 budget resolution.
All right, thank you. Are we going to hear from our finance director this evening?
No, we
Okay.
gave the presentation at the last meeting.
All right, just wanted to confirm that. So I am now going to open the meeting to the public. This is being opened specifically for the budget resolution and tax levy. So if you'd like to speak on something else, this is not that time. So if there are any comments that people would like to make regarding specifically the budget resolution and tax levy, I invite you to come to the podium for your 3 minutes. All right, I do not see anyone who wishes to come to speak regarding the budget. So I'm going to close public comment, and I'm going to ask for a motion from council, please.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I move that council concurs with staff recommendation and approves the 2025 fiscal year budget resolution.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor? Support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
just really quick to highlight, the tax rate is lower year over year. We're continuing our investments in a lot of investments into our parks, into our public safety. I mean, a lot of people in this room probably have never been in this complex since we did the major renovation. A lot of that was paid for by grants, as well as a lot of the things that are listed inside of this budget, including what you'll see later on the agenda, the band shell that's going into Civic Center Park. And so I just want to highlight, we don't normally have a crowd this big, so thank you all for coming. I feel bad I got here early to save my seat, but I had a seat anyway. Sorry for those in the back, but I think for me, as a resident, as a taxpayer, knowing that this is a lower rate year over year, knowing that the city could tax more and we're choosing to keep it as low as we possibly can, I think that that's a highlight, and a real testament to our staff and to this council for ensuring that we're able to continue to provide the services and the investments that the community needs without adding to the inflation that all of us are living with right now. So that's it, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion or comments?
Your Honor,
Yes?
5 votes are required to pass the motion on the floor.
Is there any other comments, discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Just, again, I want to thank Linda and city manager and department heads for all the work they put into this budget. And as Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Bliss said, we're doing it with trying to lower the rates, and we've also invested a lot in our infrastructure that's going to put us in good shape for years to come as well. So, thank you again for all the hard work on the staff.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those against say no. Motion carries. Next up, we have from the CED Director, Ordinance 2198. It's the new zoning ordinance and zoning map. This is the second reading and the public hearing.
On March the 19th, City Council and the Planning Commission held a joint public hearing to discuss the complete draft of the new zoning ordinance and map. At this meeting, staff and the city's planning consultant highlighted the key components of the new zoning ordinance and answered questions from the planning commissioners and city council. After the public hearing, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the new zoning ordinance and map with conditions. City Council approved on first reading Ordinance 2198 at their April 8th meeting. Therefore, staff submits the attached zoning ordinance and the zoning map for the second reading and public hearing tonight. After the required public hearing, staff recommends City Council adopt ordinance number 2198 upon second reading.
All right, thank you. And are we hearing from the planner this evening? Or? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so then, with that, I'm going to open this to the public. Once again, this is specifically regarding Ordinance 2198, the new zoning ordinance and zoning map. It is the second reading for that. So if you would like to speak on that, I invite you to the podium for 3 minutes. Yes.
Your Honor, City Council, good evening. John Gaber. It's my understanding that if this zoning ordinance amendment passes and you were to approve the Sheets development tonight, that essentially, and here's my question, essentially the B1 ordinance as it currently exists and the development rights under that ordinance would apply to the Sheets development. I'd just like to confirm that, please.
Your Honor,
Yes?
That's correct. Council is going to be using the current zoning ordinance for purposes of determining whether or not to grant
special approval to the Sheets proposal.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak specifically on ordinance 2198?
Hello, Eric Rettinger. I'm on the Planning Commission, also a resident of 1560 East 13 Mile Road. Just wanted to say thank you for your consideration of adopting all these changes. And I wanted to thank Planner Matt and also McKenna, who's here tonight, for all their hard work over a multi-year process to implement these changes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak specifically about ordinance 2198? Okay, with that, I'm going to close public comment, and we have a letter that's going to be read into the record.
Thank you. Hello, esteemed members of City Council. I had planned to attend the council meeting, but due to an urgent family matters, I'm unable. I would like to offer my full support for the zoning ordinance rewrite and encourage that it be adopted. Over the last few years, the Planning Commission has been focused on developing the framework for better economic development via thoughtful investment through the zoning ordinance rewrite that is before you today. It is important for us to create a path for the types of investment that will allow us to grow our city, to serve our residents and businesses alike. I want to be proud of how Madison Heights will grow and be developed in the future so we can look back in 5, 10, or 20 years and know we did what is within our power to build on what we know to be great about our city today. Our businesses and residents deserve to be in the forefront of our efforts, and this zoning ordinance rewrite is a document manifestation of our intent to create a better city for all. Thank you for consideration and encourage that you adopt the zoning ordinance rewrite. Thank you, Josh Champagne, Planning Commission Chair.
All right. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion from council.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2198 on second reading.
All right. Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor, I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I want to thank the other members of the Planning Commission. Myself and Mayor Grafstein serve on the commission with a lot of, I will say, professionals in the industry. We have multiple professional planners, folks like Mr. Grettinger, who spoke, who's our vice chair, and that you heard from Josh Champagne, our chair of the Planning Commission, via email. A lot of thought was put into this over several years, as was noted. The Planning Commission used to meet quarterly or once every other month. That was moved to once a month to flush out so many small details to make sure that our zoning is as strong as it can be to be able to handle what Madison Heights should look like 30 years from now. Not just today, but 30 years from now. And some of the things that we fixed were things that you wouldn't quite expect, like a pool hall or a billiards hall was classified the same way that a pornographic bookstore was. Exactly. What? So there was a lot of things like that that we had to go in and clean up and figure out the right language and why. And then we also created these really awesome districts that I'd love for our planner to be able to talk about, where we have mixed-use innovation districts, where we specifically, with the help of our consultants, McKenna, picked out properties and areas of the city that have long-term potential for the types of development that we want to see. And everything in this is form-based instead of tying it to a specific industry or type. It's tying it to the form of that building and where it fits into that area of the city. And so a lot of work was put into that. And so I do want to highlight that. And the final thing I want to highlight is we also fixed a problem as it relates to mother-in-law suites or accessory dwellings. In the previous zoning, it made it damn near impossible for anybody to build one of those in the city of Madison Heights to code and properly. Now, it's made it much easier. There are clauses in place that allow you to do it even if it wouldn't have been to code previously. And that's going to help more people stay in their homes in Madison Heights. That's going to help people to take their parents and allow them to live in homes in Madison Heights. It's going to allow aging college residents to be able to live in place here in Madison Heights while they're building up savings. And so, very excited about all these changes. So thank you to the Planning Commission, thank you to our staff, and thank you to our consultant McKenna. And yes, if Planner Matt would be willing to talk a little bit about the zoning districts, not too long, I'm sure we have at least 10 minutes of discussion on sheets, right? But I think it's beneficial to the public, anybody watching at home or here in the audience.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner Bliss. There's a lot of small details in the zoning ordinance, a lot of mundane details in the zoning ordinance that not many people here will probably care about, but that are going to streamline things, make developments easier to approve, and also give residents and business owners and property owners a better understanding of what they can do with their property. But from a bigger, kind of grander scheme, as Commissioner Bliss said, we have some new zoning districts that are attempting to align with our master plan and make our master plan come to life. So I guess we can start with downtown Madison Heights. By show of hands, who knows that there's a downtown Madison Heights? A couple people, okay. The reason why we don't really have a true downtown, or one of the reasons we don't have a true downtown, is that the zoning of our downtown Madison Heights, 11 Mile and John R., is the same zoning that we have at 14 and I-75. So it's allowing for the exact same type of development, the exact same setbacks, the exact same uses right off the freeway that we do at 11 and John R. So we created a city center form-based district that not only talks about the walkable mixed uses that we want to see, residential above some storefronts, some restaurants, but also has graphics, some form-based graphics that say, all right, we want to have it walkable downtown. The building needs to be a little bit closer to the road. The parking, we're still going to have parking, but it needs to be either to the side or behind it and screened so that it's not impacting the residential. Small things that we really didn't have in our current zoning ordinance. We also have 10 Mile and what we call a mixed-use innovation district, currently industrial. Well, I can point to it on the small map. We have some really small, cool lots on the south side of our city. Really small lots, but they're zoned industrial, which is primarily intended for larger lots, warehouse-style uses, bigger buildings that really can't be accommodated in those smaller lots, those smaller buildings. So we created a mixed-use innovation district, actually two of them, to allow for different types of uses in those smaller buildings, uses which would not have been permitted under the current zoning ordinance. Little cafes, little artisan workshops, even some townhomes, instead of just warehousing uses, which are, it's pretty much the only use allowed now in light industrial and auto shops. We also have a mixed-use innovation 2 district, which is in the northern side of our city, which is intended to take these big parking lots that we have. A lot of our parking lots by Target, Meijer, Home Depot, Lowe's, they're bigger than they need to be. And a lot of the times they sit empty. So to allow for some more economic development opportunities there, we're encouraging mixed uses, multifamily residential, even taller buildings that we can take some of these underutilized asphalt parking spaces and turn them into an economic development opportunity. So just a couple of the examples of the new zoning districts that we have, but we really think it's going to implement our master plan, bring it to life, and allow for a better development, streamlined process for both businesses, property owners, and residents.
All right, thank you.
That's my spiel. Our consultants, McKenna Associates, Adam and Hunter are here too. They did a lot of work with the graphics and with the text, so they're here to answer any questions as well.
And if it sounds like Planner Matt knows what he's talking about and he has this rehearsed, it's because he has been saying this ad nauseum for the last couple of years, and we have been going over this. So it may be new to some people, but for a lot of us, we have been working on this, and this is the final hurdle, is getting it actually approved. Are there any other questions, comments from council? Yes.
Again, just want to say kudos to the Planning Commission for all the hard work on something that's been needed for years. Again, setting up that infrastructure and putting us in good shape for many years to come.
Thank you. All right. If there's no further discussion, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those against say no. Motion carries. Next up, thank you, Planner Matt, we appreciate it. And thank you, McKenna. Next up, we have from the CED Director, the special approval of PSP 24-02, the Sheetz Gasoline Service Station at 30901 DeQuinder Road.
The applicant Skilkin Gold LLC MC Development Holdings, on behalf of Sheetz, the proposed tenant, and Albert Santa, the property owner, requests special approval from City Council under Section 10.3192 of the City Madison Heights zoning ordinance, gasoline service stations. The applicant requests approval for a gasoline service station featuring a convenience store and quick service restaurant at the subject property located at 30901 DeQuinder Road. The property is zoned B1 Local Business District. At the guidance of staff, the applicant voluntarily presented the development concept to the Planning Commission at their November 21st meeting for preliminary feedback prior to submittal. The Planning Commission's informal concerns and comments were concerns about a 24-hour operation relating to impacts of the adjacent residential properties, such as noise, light, and increased traffic, including the proximity of gas pump canopy to the west property line, a discussion on whether the proposed use meets the goals and objectives of the city's master plan, concerns about adding another gas station or vehicular-oriented business to the intersection, questions pertaining to the length of the land lease, questions pertaining to accommodating electric vehicle charging, and concerns about potential pollution. The applicant attempted to respond to several of these concerns in their formal submittal. For example, the applicant has rotated the location of the convenience store and fuel pumps so that the convenience store acts as a screen between the fuel pump's canopy and adjacent residential condominiums. The location of the parking spaces and the dumpster enclosure have been shifted away from the condominiums to the west. Additionally, the applicant has provided a traffic study, a noise study, and an air admission study. While the required screen wall greenbelt will offset some of the visual impacts, staff echoes the Planning Commission's concerns regarding the proximity of a 24-hour fuel station convenience store immediately adjacent to residential land use and residential zoning. This is especially concerning given that the proposed development directly goes against use-specific standards of Section 10.3192C, which prohibits gas service stations adjacent to residential. Staff also questions whether the 24-hour fuel station and convenience store meets the intent of B1 Local Business District, which is to meet the day-to-day convenience shopping and service needs of persons residing in adjacent residential areas. Uses permitted by right within the B1 district are primarily neighborhood-oriented, including groceries, bakeries, hardware stores, beauty salons, restaurants, and professional offices. Staff has previously expressed concern about the proliferation of new auto-oriented uses and businesses within the city. These are uses that primarily focus on and are explicitly designed to provide services for customers and vehicles. Auto-oriented uses conflict with the master plan's goals for walkable corridors and transportation networks. While the convenience store component is not by itself auto-oriented and it is a use permitted by right, its placement and orientation on the property in combination with the fuel pumps presents a site design that is not particularly friendly, comfortable, nor safe for customers outside the vehicle. There are 6 existing gas stations along the 2-mile stretch of 13 Mile Road between John R. and Ryan Roads, 2 of which located at the intersection of 13 Mile and DeQuinder. Including the 2 gas stations at that intersection, there are 7 existing gas stations along a 2-mile stretch of DeQuinder Road between 12 and 14 Mile, which amounts to 11 existing gas stations within a 1 linear mile of this subject site. Within 4 square miles, there are 19 existing gas stations, which equates to 4.75 gas stations per square mile. Further, the draft of the new zoning ordinance and zoning map, which was just approved at this meeting, has the subject property zoned as B1 Neighborhood Business District, Within the new zoning ordinance, gasoline stations are no longer listed as a permitted or special land use in the B1 district. Therefore, if the proposed application is approved as presented, the gas station, once developed, would become legally non-conforming use with the new zoning ordinance. If City Council does move to approve the special approval application, staff recommends the following conditions to meet the intent and purpose of the B1 zoning district and the spirit of the zoning ordinance. 1, seek and obtain a non-use variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals from Section 10.3192C. The lot must be located on the edge of the district where the abutting zoning district on the frontage is non-residential, so as not to disrupt pedestrian movement within the district. 2, provide additional district pedestrian connection from the convenience store front door to a public sidewalk along DeQuinder Road, as reviewed and approved by the planning staff during site review. This may require the relocation of certain site elements, such as a loading area or air pumps. 3, provide additional greenbelt landscaping in the form of dioecious trees and oriental trees within the greenbelt adjacent to DeQuinder Road, as reviewed by the approved planning staff during site plan review. Alter location of the underground storage tank if necessary, and allow for tree root growth. Any action, either approval or denial taken, should include precise findings.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Marsh. And I'm now going to give Sheets a few minutes to do their presentation.
Absolutely. Members of City Council, city staff, members of the public, thank you for having me here tonight. My name is David Bruckelmeyer Sheets. My address is 39300 West 12 Mile Road, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Sheets is new to the market, and I think there's a lot of questions about, who Sheets is, and I know the staff report kind of alluded to some of our uses, but tonight I'd really like to go through and talk about what kind of uses we really provide at Sheets, and who Sheets is as a corporate culture. So Sheets is family-owned and operated. All of our stores are corporately owned. None of them are franchised. And so Sheets was started in 1952 by 18-year-old Bob Sheets. And to this day, the Sheets family is still very heavily involved in the Sheets business and makes day-to-day operational decisions. And what that means is that on a day-to-day basis, there's a family member, a family, running the business. It means you get consistency. You get a customer focus. You get a lot of things like that that you're not going to get out of a business that's franchised. Sheets is continuously growing. We have 700 locations across 6 states at the moment, and Michigan's going to be the 7th. We provide great jobs, 30 to 35 positions per location. That does not include any kind of corporate positions. Those positions are preferably full-time with full benefits, everything from healthcare, dental, vision. I can attest the healthcare is incredible. My wife put those to the test this month. So, those are some of the awesome things that we can provide because we're a company of 25,000. Something about Sheets that's really unique in this space is we are a restaurant convenience store that is open 24/7, 365 with a full food offering. That's something that's not found in a lot of communities. There's a lot of people that work overnight. There's a lot of people that work, third shift, first responders that, need somewhere to go in the middle of the night. Certainly for food. And then in addition to that, with that being open 24/7, 365, we're open to our customers as a convenient access to good food. We focus on safety. Our sites are well lit and monitored by cameras 24/7, 365 by Sheets employees in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We have our own security operations center. It is constantly monitored. The cameras are high definition, really good nighttime vision, so it deters a lot of crime on our sites. We routinely work with local police departments. They have our contact information, and we reach out with them and work with them on a one-on-one basis very frequently. Advanced technology. Sheets is 100% compliant with the EPA. So what does that mean? That's specifically related to our underground storage tanks. That means that we provide a level of monitoring that's well above the industry standard. The average in the industry is 60% compliance with the EPA. That would mean EGLE and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So that's something that really sets the standard in the industry. Sheets does that. We provide the most expensive UST system that money can buy. Dual wall tanks, stainless steel fittings, attention to detail when we're installing the system. And that's something that is really different from some of our competition. Just wanted to give you a quick idea of the Sheets family tree. I think there are 16 family members that are currently making decisions within the business on the day-to-day. That's just something to reinforce that we are family-owned, family-operated. We help our communities. We donate locally. We do everything from food banks, all kinds of sports teams, all kinds of affiliated parks and things like that in our locations where we operate. 2022, we donated $1.6 million to communities that we service. In addition, Sheets for the Kids is an operation that Sheets started, I think, back in the 90s. And it really services underprivileged kids in the communities that we serve at Christmas time. So each location picks roughly 16 families to donate to. I think last year was 11,500 kids that we were able to support at Christmas time. It's a fantastic organization. In addition to that, Special Olympics. We have a really close tie to Special Olympics in every state that we serve. I would like to note that I have submitted a letter to you that is just a letter of support from Special Olympics Michigan, just talking about how we're a good corporate partner and some of the donations we've made. It's going to certainly be something that we nurture and something that's going to be that Sheets donates to, the entire time we're here in Michigan. So we're very excited at building a relationship with Special Olympics Michigan. Made to Share. We donate every year, I think it's over 1 million pounds of food to local food banks to keep, food from going to waste. So that goes directly to the communities that we service. And just in addition, our people are active in the community. Everyone that we hire is usually very local. So that means they're in touch with the needs of the local municipality, whether, the local sports team needs some donations or something like that. They're in touch with it and they hear about those kind of things. So that just gives you a good idea of who Sheets is as a corporate culture. Down to the nitty-gritty. What do our stores look like that are operating? In front of you right now is a picture of an operating Sheets store in Columbus, Ohio. And what you see is what you get. We have beautiful architecture, a best-in-class canopy, full brick sections on our buildings, metal fascias, all of our mechanical equipment is screened. It's a very attractive, architecturally sufficient building. In addition, we take a lot of pride in how we construct our sites. As you can see here, this site is beautifully maintained and put together really well. It's built to last. Again, I'd like to just point out some of the architectural features. Lots of glazing, good transparency into the restaurant and the seating area, metal canopy awnings, full section brick. All of those things come standard on a prototypical Sheets store. In addition, I think something that we'd like to highlight tonight is that Sheets is a restaurant, primarily. We started out as a restaurant, convenience store carryout, and we still hold true to those values today. Our customers are very much in love with our made-to-order offering. So we have 1.8 million different combinations of food you can order in our restaurant. So I would like to focus on the 30 seats we have inside for people to sit down, grab a coffee, shoot an email out on their way. In addition to that, we have 14 outdoor seating spaces so people can enjoy a meal in the summer, in the nice weather. So we really are heavily restaurant focused. That's just another look at the Sheets sign. I'd like to just present the building elevations quickly to you to just further emphasize that we're providing a really nice level of architecture here as proposed. Again, full brick sections, all the metal awnings, all the bells and whistles that we would normally have on a Sheets store. I will also note that that top section is what the residents are going to see. If you look, that would face west, and that will have a row of very dense arborvitaes. It's certainly the least intrusive section of our building. There will be no storage, no pedestrian walking back there, no workers back there. It's just going to be green space. It has very minimal lighting just for security. So we'll go through a little bit more of the site plan to just detail how we've oriented the building in order to minimize our impact to the residents to the west. But that just gives you an idea what the back looks like. And again, our best-in-class fuel canopy, architectural truss systems, just a really good, fantastic looking awning with stone veneer on the bottom and all kinds of metal cladding to finish it off. With that, I'd like to take you into the site plan and just take a look at some of the finer details. So the existing conditions of the site, currently there's a strip center that is nearly vacant. All of the existing tenants have either had their leases expire or they're month to month and they are going to be relocating. So in its condition right now, It is not economically feasible to redo this building, to make improvements to it and to the site. And so at this time, our landlord and Sheetz has come to an agreement to redevelop this property and give it a new life. I do want to highlight some of the challenges that the existing tenants have. To the right of the top left picture there, the current grocery store needs 2 refrigerated trucks in order to maintain their food volume inside of the store. That really speaks to the fact that this strip center is unfortunately outdated and just needs some redevelopment, and the current tenant has really outgrown their use of the space. I think in addition to that, I want to note that, our arborvitaes are going to be in the area that you're looking at right now. So I think this would bring a visual improvement to the residents to the west. And just a quick touch on the zoning map. If you look on the left side, that is the current zoning in B1. And if you look at the future land use map, both of these sites, both at 13 and DeQuinder and the site south, are master planned or future planned as commercial sites. And that was one of the reasons that Sheetz really did pick this site. It was something, we looked at the master plan, looked at the zoning amendment, the zoning text, and saw that our use was compatible with this site. It's also located along 2 arterial roads. So we're looking at that, and that makes a lot of sense for Sheetz. In addition, there's a lot of walkable areas where people can come and enjoy our restaurant, and we'll go through a little bit more of those details about walkability. So as you can see on the site plan, we have proposed a significant amount of green space, roughly 23% green space, which is an incredible, incredible change from the current site. As it stands right now, there's really no green space on the site at all. So a 23% green space is a huge attraction to the community. That's something that the master plan really speaks to. It's looking to beautify and make the commercial corridors within Madison Heights, better looking, more beautiful, more green space. That's something I think we're able to offer with this development. I'd like to just point out to you some of those amenities that we're offering. I know something that the staff has asked us to do is to look at planting trees on the east side along DeQuinder. And that's something we're willing to talk with staff about. We do have a little bit of a concern with planting large trees near our UST system. I think we could certainly look at, some additional plantings, certainly look at some ornamental trees and things like that with staff in order to beautify the site further. The other thing I'm going to note here, it's a little bit difficult to see because this is blown up. But on the west side of the site, it's hard for you to see on the TV screen, we do have a pedestrian access point to 13 Mile Road. And one of the nice things about this pedestrian access point is that in order to get to the restaurant and the bike rack of our store, you do not have to cross any of our internal traffic routing. So that's something that's very much safer than most sites can offer. So really what someone can do here is walk along 13 Mile and cut down the west side of this site and walk straight onto our sidewalk and into our restaurant. So that's something we'd like to focus on, that we're able to provide that kind of pedestrian access that is really something the master plan calls for, a walkable, safe access to the site with a restaurant. So those are some things we wanted to point out. We did hear staff's comments about putting in a walkway along DeQuinder. We do have a little bit of concern. There's obviously a trash enclosure, a loading zone, and some other action through here. We're certainly willing to work with staff to figure out how to get a safe pedestrian access into this site. That's something we can certainly do in the final stages of planning and engineering. So I hope we're able to come to an agreement upon that. Just finalizing some of our comments here, and I'm sure there's going to be some back and forth, but we really feel that Sheetz fits with the master plan here. We are a restaurant, convenience store that happens to sell fuel, and it's something where we've been able to provide a great site plan that provides walkability and beautification to the corridor. With that, I'm going to turn this over to John, and he's going to run through some of the special land use requirements, and I look forward to having additional discussions with you tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to make this note. You've been talking for 12 minutes, which is fine because you're doing the presentation, but if John could maybe condense it a little bit, please.
Absolutely, thank you.
Just in the interest of the room full of people who would also like to speak, and they're only going to get 3 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council. John Gaber, 380 North Old Woodward, Birmingham. I'm the attorney for the developer in this case, and I will try to move us through this quickly since David spent a lot of time on certain aspects. What I'd like to do is to look at the ordinance, because you're guided by the ordinance criteria in terms of making your decision in this section. So what I'd like to do is to go through these briefly and highlight how we believe we've satisfied the ordinance requirements. First of all, we're compliant with the site plan requirements. That's point A. Secondly, point B, that's the one variance that we're going to pursue. There's one ordinance section that staff has determined that we don't meet. And that section, provides that the lot must be located on the edge of the district. Now, we don't necessarily agree with staff because we think we are on the edge of the district. We're at the edge of the city of Madison Heights, which is the edge of your zoning district. And then the paren, where the abutting zoning district on the frontage is non-residential. If you look at our frontage, it's either DeQuinder or 13 Mile Road. And abutting on the other side of the roads would be commercial, would be a gas station use on either side. And then finally, so as not to disrupt pedestrian movement within the district. As David pointed out, we facilitate pedestrian movement. We're not disrupting it, and we're not changing it to make it any worse. So what we will do, because of the fact that staff has determined, since the property south of us, where the church is zone residential, and it's zone residential because it hasn't been rezoned yet. The master plan calls for commercial. It's a non-residential use, so eventually it's likely to go commercial. But for this reason, we will pursue the ordinance variance with the ZBA, assuming we're approved this evening. Now, the next slide, going through these criteria, the use has to be compatible with the surrounding area. One of the sub-criteria is the location of the uses on the site. And David mentioned where these uses are located, how the site is configured. We have the building as screening to the condos to the west. In addition to that, we have our arborvitaes and green space. We've got the existing masonry wall. Then we've got the about 20-foot alley that the church owns. It's vacant. And then next to that, there's the wall, the screening wall, and then the carports, and then the driveway for the condos. So basically, it's about 100 feet from the back of the sheet store to any condo buildings, which is substantial. And with respect to the church to the south, we have the existing masonry wall that'll be preserved and improved, and then landscaping is going to be added to that buffer as well. Okay, so the height of the improvements, basically we're 2 stories, which is compatible with the condos and the church. You got to look at the adjacent conforming land uses. We replace the shopping center, so it's commercial for commercial, and then we're consistent with the gas station and the other commercial uses to the north and the east of the site. And with the screening elements, we believe we're compatible with the church and the condominiums next to us. So the next criteria to look at is the need for the proposed use in the specified area of the city. Well, this is a Sheets development, as David mentioned. It's not another gas station. I know it was referred to as a gas station, but it's primarily a restaurant and a convenience store in the area. It replaces restaurants with expiring leases, and we provide made-to-order food to be consumed either indoors or outdoors, either on-site or off-site. We've got several grab-and-go prepared food options for consumers. And the consumers, in essence, have a one-stop location. And it's a convenience location to be able to eat, to be able to purchase convenience goods, and to be able to fuel their vehicle. So, as David mentioned, Sheets will be hiring around 35 people from the local community. And then finally, we've got a lot of additional green space on the site. So there is a need for a Sheets concept. Sheets customers are very loyal. It's something that services the adjacent area as well as the community. And it's unique in this area. We've been through the master plan. The criteria is that we look at conformity of the site and the use with the future land use plans for the area. It doesn't say with the master plan and the master plan objectives. It says the future land use plan. And basically, as has been pointed out, we're commercial, and the site south of us, the church, is commercial. But even if you look at the master plan goals and objectives, with the green space we're adding, with the enhancement to a commercial corridor, with the supporting of walkability, with the promotion of the city's positive identity in the area, I mean, the redevelopment of this site is going to go a long way toward enhancing this area of the city, making the city proud that that Sheetz is there as opposed to what's currently there, and providing a better situation for the community in accordance with this master plan, and particularly the neighbors. Now, the further criteria is the compatibility with permitted principal uses allowed in the zoning district. Let me talk first about the other gas stations in the B1 zoning district. That was a point that was raised in the staff memorandum. There are 3 other gas stations in B1 zoning in the city. I'm not sure if you were aware of that.
Mr.
There's
Gaver,
the
you're at
mobile
about
across-
19 minutes now. Do you know how long this presentation is going to be?
It's going to be just a couple more minutes, ma'am.
All right.
But these are important points, that we've got these 3 other gas stations that are in B1 zoning, and precedence has been set. All we're asking for is to be treated in compliance with the precedent that was set in this situation. There are several ingress and egress criteria, and we believe we've met those, as David has stated. Screening, you see renderings there. The top one is a rendering from the church building looking north. The bottom one is a rendering from 13 Mile looking south. So what that does is that shows the screening and what you're going to see essentially from the neighboring properties. The use shall not have an adverse impact upon the environment. David talked about the best-in-class environmental system, and we've supplied to you Sheetz policies with regard to environmental concerns. And then also there's an air quality memorandum from an environmental consultant that we've supplied that shows that we're not doing anything to deteriorate the quality of the air in the area. And then finally, it shouldn't be a nuisance to the neighbors. And one thing I want to point out that we've submitted in that regard is we've submitted a noise study from an acoustical engineering firm. And that noise study says that vehicle sounds will be lower with the Sheetz than they currently are, because you don't have the driveway at the back of the building, you don't have the entries at the back of the building, you don't have the refrigerated trucks with the motors going all the time. And our site configuration with the building kind of closing off that side, and fewer mechanical units reduces sound levels as well. So essentially, this is the presentation to show how we're in compliance with these requirements. There are requirements specifically for gasoline service stations in 10.3192, and we meet those requirements too, except for the one that we talked about, where we're going to be pursuing a variance with the ZBA. So with that, I'll wrap up the presentation, and thank you for listening to us, and we'd like the opportunity to respond to questions and comments that are raised tonight. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And with that, I am going to open the meeting to the public. This is now the opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak specifically on Sheetz. I'm going to ask that you give your name, that you speak at the podium, and you have 3 minutes. Their presentation was allowed to have more than 3 minutes because it was their official presentation. So please, the floor is yours. And everyone will get the opportunity to speak.
Hello, honorable members of the City Council. I want to say thank you for your service. Often, people forget that you're doing public service and for the benefits of the entire citizens of Madison Heights. Thank you for your service. My name is Sharkey Haddad, and I work with the Chaldean... Take it from 10. I work with the Chaldean Chamber of Commerce, who has 1,000 members. Many of them are sitting here, and 35 of the members are non-Chaldeans, and 25% of the members are big corporations like Sheetz. But the Chaldean Chamber of Commerce has its eyes on the prize. We focus on supporting small businesses who are the backbone of every city, every state, and nationally. A lot of politicians say we support small businesses, but when push comes to shove, always those big corporations with high-powered attorney, such as the one you just listened to, come into the town, put about 7 authentic stores at the plaza out of business, put the 2 gas stations across the street, one of them out of business, and you guys all know what happens to a gas station when it goes out of business. It stays there as an eyesore for a long period of time, because God only knows what kind of environmental problems they have underneath. Sheetz Corporation and their high-powered attorney forgot to mention that they were sued by the federal government, and they settled that lawsuit for underground fuel tank violations in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Massachusetts, and West Virginia. Sheetz forgot to mention, especially their attorney, that they had just got hit by the federal government with a lawsuit for discriminating against minorities by checking their criminal records without checking the other staff, their criminal records. We want to bring your attention that this is about the livelihood of some of the businesses in Madison Heights who have been paying taxes in Madison Heights, who have been supporting the police department in Madison Heights, who have been supporting the churches and local church organizations in Madison Heights and city programs. And you don't have to send a letter or an email to the headquarters of Sheetz asking them for a donation to the Parks and Recreation or a donation to the local police department or local church. The store owners, the mom and pop stores in Madison Heights have an authentic relationships with the neighbors. Something that I don't care how corporate America will try to do, they will never succeed in having an authentic relationships with the neighbors behind them, or at least put an effort to find out what is the first name of the customer that lives behind their store. These are all the factors why we need to support the small businesses and the residents who are living next door to that plaza. Those residents don't have the money to hire an expensive attorney like Sheetz does. They're here to express their concerns. They're here to say, we don't have the money, but we have the vote and we pay taxes in Madison Heights. I thank you for your consideration to stop Sheetz from coming into Michigan and put all the mom and pop shops in the state of Michigan, Southeast Michigan, out of business. And one question I have for Sheetz, why aren't they building a store in the city of Detroit? I would like an answer for that.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, please.
Hi, Eric Rettinger. I'm on the Planning Commission and a resident down the street from this development at 1560 East 13 Mile Road. Sorry, I'll speak up. Sheetz is here because this site requires special approval. They've addressed some of the issues, but the one they can't address is this is adjacent to residential. And that's even before we consider that it's a 24/7 facility. I know I wouldn't want a 24/7 facility next to my residence. When we talk about precedents, yep, I hope we hear from you tonight. When we talk about precedents, we want to do better than the existing conditions. And I also don't want to set a precedence that a 24/7 gas station is going to be okay adjacent to residential properties in the city. The existing businesses that were put out of this plaza were the B1 businesses. There were groceries, bakeries, beauty salons, restaurants in that plaza. So I look forward to hearing from the residents that are adjacent to this development tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Good evening. William Miller, County Commissioner, 16th District, Oakland County, Farmington Hills. Love to see you all. Glad to hear everybody coming out. I come here as when I was elected, I brought welcoming Oakland County to Oakland County, which was welcoming to all immigrants, refugees. Everybody you see in this room here, which mirrors your city right now, right? If you bring Sheetz in, everything I've read, Livonia just turned them down, that they break up this community, and then your community's going to look like that mirror behind you. Ironically, it fits. I mean, honestly, if you look at it, we want to keep this community. There's been too much devastating stuff happening in the Madison area that we want to keep this going, we want to keep the residents here. And allegedly, as I've done some research on this, that the reason why some of their fuel is cheaper because they add 15% ethanol, where actually engines are good for 10%, so actually could hurt your engine and cost you more money. So we want to protect against that, because that was the big question: is why is Sheetz so cheap? And I looked into that, and this is what I seen. So I say allegedly because it's not on their website, so I can't prove it. And then also with that EEOC charge, my understanding is, from what I read the last couple of days, is that they could have settled it in 2022, but they decided not to. So that's why it continues. So thank you for your time. I ask you to listen to the community. My brothers and sisters out here, They want to stay here, they want to live here, they want to be here. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you. And again, everybody will get the opportunity to speak. Please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sylvia Samo, and as we gather here today, I want to bring attention to the fabric of our community, the heartbeat of our local economy, and the essence of what makes us unique. We stand at a crossroads, faced with a decision that could shape the character of our neighborhood for generations to come. The proposal for a Sheetz location at 13 and DeQuinder has sparked debate and division among us. While Sheetz may promise convenience and selection, we must pause and reflect on the true cost of such a venture. At its core, our community thrives on the spirit of family-owned and operated businesses like the one my family has, right across from where they want to develop. These establishments are the backbone of our neighborhood, being an essential part of our daily lives. By inviting a corporate giant like Sheetz into this location, we risk undermining the very essence of what makes us special. We risk overshadowing the hard work and dedication of our local small business owners who have poured their hearts and souls into serving this community for so many years. Moreover, Sheetz does not align with the true definition of a family-owned and operated business. It represents a corporate entity driven by profit margins and shareholder interest rather than the values of community, integrity, and personal connection. Let us not forget the countless small businesses in our area that have stood the test of time, dealing with economic storms and adapting to changing times. They are the cornerstones of our neighborhood. And as we consider the impact of Sheetz on our community, let us remember the faces behind the storefronts, the families who rely on these businesses for their livelihoods. And in conclusion, I urge you in not approving the development of this Sheetz on 13 and DeQuinder. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Savio Samo. I'm the owner of the mobile gas station on 31011 DeQuinder Road. Everybody knows small businesses, they're personal. We know our customers by name. We know the police department by name. I have most of their phone numbers in my personal phone. They ask me to hang out all the time. All we do is take care of our community. These guys will take every dollar that they make and turn it right back to Pennsylvania where their headquarters is. It's not worth it. They'll destroy all the small businesses in the area, gas stations, restaurants, whatever it is. I don't think Madison Heights needs Sheetz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ali Bazi, 25700 DeQuinder. I am a small business owner. There's a lot of things that were said here tonight by the applicant, by the attorney, by Mr. Sharkey. I want to state a few facts for all of us to consider here tonight, okay? There are 615 gas stations in Oakland County. That is the second largest county that has gas station in the state of Michigan, next to Wayne County. There are nearly 20 gas stations in the city of Madison Heights, okay? This Madison Heights population over the years has been flat. There hasn't been an increase in population. So as your planning board said in the notes that were read off today, is there a need for another gas station in Madison Heights? I believe there was 4.9 gas stations within 1 mile radius of this proposed use, okay? Now, the applicant talked about who Sheetz is. Being a business owner and reading about Sheetz and having friends who do business in markets that Sheetz does market in, Sheetz has a practice. It's called extended grand openings. They use that term, extended grand openings, to sell gas below cost. Small business owners cannot sustain selling gas below cost for an extended period of time. Our expenses over the years as small business owners have increased significantly. The cost of payroll has gone up. Our utilities have gone up. Maintenance has gone up. Small business owners work an average of 10 to 12 hours a day in their business, with family members working for free to sustain. Now, also, we want to talk about letting Sheetz into our market, right? In the city of Madison Heights, we have a Sam's Club, we have a Costco, we have a Myers, we have a Kroger. We call these big boxes. Now, I drive by the Costco on I-75 every time I go north and south. I look over the overpass, and cars are lined up all the way to the street on Stevenson Road to buy gas from Costco. Now, Costco sells gas cheap because they want to bring their consumers to their store. Now, in order to sell gas at a cheap price or below cost, Costco has to secure a product, meaning they have to go to their supplier and say, we want a cheap price on fuel so we can sell it. And the supplier would say, well, you need to buy so many gallons from us. Sheetz stands here today and tells you that they are a restaurant. Indeed, they do offer food. But if you look at their layout, they're putting 8 pumps for a restaurant. So the economics to have 8 pumps means you have to sell a lot of fuel. The question wasn't asked, and I don't know if it's been noted, what size are their tanks underground? But for Sheetz to secure a product, they have to make guarantees to their supplier.
Okay, sir, you have hit your 3 minutes, so.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up real
Thank you.
quick here, okay? So for them to secure this product, they're going to negotiate, and they're going to sell gas cheap, right? Yes, they did a traffic study. But if you do a traffic study on a gas price being sold below cost, you're going to have a line out the street.
Thank you.
One last thing, and I'm going to end this here. We started off this meeting with a prayer saying that we want to make the right decisions for our citizens of Madison Heights. This body here tonight can make the right decision for these citizens here in Madison Heights, and they need to.
My name is Carlos Ibrahim, and my family runs location 30861 John R. Road BP gas station. And I'd just like to say that recently, with the economy, we've been struggling to stay up basically. And something like this, if a Sheetz gas station opens and it basically kills us, we're going to be run out of business. I'm a college student. I go to OU, and this is our only source of income. So in order for me to continue being a student and get a medical degree, something like this, if it basically crushes it, it's basically going to crush everything with it. Like I said, we've been really struggling to stay up basically. And it's been so bad to the point because I'm his son, I've been working 7 days a week, every single morning, from 8 to 2, so we can't afford to basically pay workers in this economy. And just one more thing, like I'm just going to say, if a Sheetz gas station does open up, it's going to basically shut down every single local gas station in a 1 mile radius, which is a lot. And that's a lot of basically families being destroyed because, like I said, for my family, that's our only source of income. Thank you.
Thank you.
Darren O'Connell, and I live at 30575 Manor Drive in Madison Heights, which is one of the single-family residential subdivisions right behind where the proposed Sheetz is going to go. Whenever I drive through Pennsylvania, I stop at Sheetz. I think it's, as a consumer, it's a quality experience. I have no concerns about it being a 24-hour operation, being that close to my house, or the fact that the gas station is going in there. I would respectfully request that the city council approve Sheetz going in. I have a concern that if it doesn't get approved, that the owner of the property will evict the current tenants and it'll just be vacant while the place gets leveled and rebuilt and another shopping plaza goes in its place with no tenants to move in because the current tenants would have already found other locations to go. So I really don't want to have a vacant shopping plaza there. The current shopping plaza that's there does cause a lot of traffic problems, particularly when the semi-truck is backing up and blocking 13 Mile. Since I live in that subdivision behind there, that's something that we as a family frequently encounter. The shopping plaza is not all that aesthetic pleasing, and I look forward to Sheetz with the proposed green space that I think would really beautify the corner. So again, I encourage the city council to approve Sheets' request.
Thank you. All right, I am going to ask, there are a lot of people in there. I'm here, I just ask you to keep it, if you want to speak there, you can go out there. And again, everyone will get the opportunity to speak at the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Grafstein. My name is Kevin Wright. I live at 745 Camry Drive. I'm a longtime resident, grew up in Madison Heights, went to high school here, been a person who's lived in the city a long time. And I'll be really brief because I know a lot of people want to talk, there's a lot of passion. But I fully support this proposal for Sheets to build a new store at 13 and DeQuinder. I think the redevelopment of that parcel will revitalize that corner and be good for our city. In doing a little research about Sheets online, I learned that they're a family-owned company that gives back and invests in the communities that they are located in. And I think they would be a welcome addition to ours. Therefore, I urge council to approve this project tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Gail Wilder, and I live at 1832 East 13 Mile in the Will Hills condos. So Sheets is right in my backyard. And so for all of you that say, hey, sounds like a good thing, I live right down the street, maybe a mile or two, you don't have it in your backyard. If it was in your backyard, I can attest you would not want it. Your property values will be, I can't even say. So what I say to Sheets is, talk is cheap. Corporate America will not.
Okay.
They will not back up.
You guys need to knock it off.
What they say. They will come in, extended grand openings. Yes, it's a leased property. So what happens if Sheets decides that, you know what, the lease goes up, I don't want to be there anymore? Do you know what gas stations do to the ground? You say, oh, you want to redevelop that corner? Well, I can attest that if you put in a gas station there, there will never be anything there but a gas station or an unused piece of property, because it will never be able to be redeveloped. So, yeah, and green space, well, you can put in all the trees you want and all the green space you want, but it will never, ever replace the ground that you're going to put in those massive gas tanks. So, Sheets, you want to put in a restaurant? Put in a restaurant. But don't put in a gas station. Thank you. Noted, Sheets. I've lived in Madison Heights for over 13 years, and I want to continue to do that, but I won't.
Hello. So I think we've all heard enough. I would like to just wrap this up. I just want to make a couple points here. First of all, yes, you guys are 24 hours, but we already have a gas station that's 24 hours, and they also have food. They're providing food. They've been here. They've been working their whole lives. The owners work themselves day and night supporting the community. And they, just like he mentioned, he knows people by names. What else do you want? And where are you going to bring 35 workers? It's so hard to find one worker to work. I don't know where you guys are going to get 35 workers, but I don't see that happening. And one more thing I would like to point out, if the city wants to add trees and all these beautiful greeneries, you can do that. You don't need Sheets to add that. You want to renovate? Go ahead and renovate. The Shell gas station just did renovations not so long ago. I'm sure all of you have been there. You've seen how they turned it. What else do you need? I don't think we need Sheets. You're a great company, nothing against them, but you can find somewhere else. Sheets owner is not living off that one location, but other businesses are living off their location.
Thank you.
Sam Ayad, I run the business on 11 Mile and DeQuinder, 12 Mile and DeQuinder. Just to add to everyone's comments, I don't think Madison Heights need any more gas station. We have about 19 gas stations in Madison Heights. I didn't even add the gas station on the other side of Warren and Troy. Family-owned gas station owners buy their homes, cars, clothing, and food in Michigan. Family-owned gas station owners use local contractors and vendors for their businesses. I have a candy supplier, ice cream supplier, drink supplier, pizza supplier, donuts, sandwich suppliers who lives in Medicine Heights. I don't think Sheetz is going to utilize any of those suppliers as they have their own products. We, this community here, first and second generation immigrants, worked hard to keep the business and the city up. It is not only gas station owners that will lose business. A lot of other Michiganders will be hurt.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak? Yeah. Again, everybody who wishes to speak will get an opportunity.
Hi, my name's Amanda Rosizi. I work at the I work at the ExxonMobil. I just want to say, everyone keeps talking about the whole family-oriented business thing, and I just want to say it's frustrating to hear the corporation, I understand, big corporation coming from Pennsylvania or wherever, that's not family-oriented. When I was going through hard times, I work obviously at the hospital and I also work at the gas station. When I was going through hard times, these people took me in and they didn't just hire me as an employee. I can truly call them family, not just from the gas station, but from the restaurants and all of the community together. They're very close-knit and they care very much for everybody in the community. I've never seen anything like it. That's not something you're going to get from any corporation. You're not going to hire in family. You're not going to have that unit. If I went and worked for them, they don't care what my hours are, or if I can work around my children's schedule, or if I can work around the hospital schedule. They're there all the time. They've become very close family, and I just wanted to say, it frustrates me to say, they might be a big corporation, family-oriented, but their family isn't going to come here and live here and be part of the community, you know, and I've made some great friends. All of the customers that come, they come, if I'm working at one station or the other, they come to see, they tell us about their families, they tell us about their kids. You know, it's more than just family people working. The whole entire community is family. They come to us, they love us, and they're not going to be very supportive of this. I just want to say family is important, and we are family.
Good evening. My name is Nasser Siddiqui, 11550 13 Mile, owner-operator at the Valero gas station. I have a very young family. The gas station provides for my young family. That is one point that I want to make. And Opus recently did a study on nationwide volumes. Volumes across the board are down 27%. Adding a Sheetz gas station in our town will bring gas stations further, the volume further down to the point where they sell below cost volume. Below cost. Single operator, small operators cannot afford to compete with someone the size of Sheetz. City Manager, I would like to ask you once more, how many gas stations were located 1 mile from the proposed site?
This is the opportunity for you to speak. It's
Okay,
not for-
excuse me. I believe there was 5 gas stations within 1 mile, 11 gas stations within 2 miles, 20 gas stations within Madison Heights already. You have all the big boxes in Madison Heights. You have the most gas stations, second only to Wayne County in Oakland County. In good faith with the local businesses and the residents, before we started tonight, Mr. Mayor asked us to operate in common sense. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Martha Covert, Edward Avenue. There's a lot going on right now that I didn't realize, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize there were so many family-owned businesses, gas stations. I know that the gas station at 11 Mile and DeQuinder has awesome food. I can just say that. But you're saying there's a zoning problem with this because it backs up to a residential area. But doesn't the gas station on John R. and Lincoln back up to residential? The gas station at 12 and John R., doesn't that back up to residential? The gas station on Dartmouth and 12 Mile backs up to residential? Why is it a zone? Is this zoned differently than all those other gas stations? That's my observation. But I understand that you don't want to be hurt by this. I get it, because like I said, I do like food. But I don't live there. You do. The people that live behind this, right, you've got a reason for this. This wasn't there when you bought your condo. Now they're wanting to put something new in. When I bought my house, there was a school, so any problem with the school, that's on me, because I knew it was there. So, yeah, sorry, guys, I thought this might be a good thing, but I don't know. After hearing, real people stand here, like this gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Okay, Mr. Haddad. After hearing Mr. Haddad speak, it was like, oh, yeah. There are human beings connected to those businesses that I forget, and I'm sorry.
Does anybody else wish to speak? And can you just see if there's anybody out in the hall who wishes to speak? I want to make sure everybody has their opportunity. Okay, there's no one else in the hall who wants to speak? Nobody here? All right. Okay, so I'm going, you have, okay, yeah, please, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Brian Nager, and I am the owner of the shopping center, 100 to 200 West 12 Mile, located in the BJ's Outlot. So, they're presenting a nice plan, and I think a lot of points have been made here, backing up to a residential area. There are probably other gas stations that back up to residences. But, this is why we have the zoning ordinances in place, and they're asking for something, maybe outside of the box. So all that needs to be considered. If they have every right in the world to put this gas station up, then maybe that needs to be granted. But if there's special uses or approvals that they need, other things need to be taken into consideration. You have an existing shopping center with businesses there that have been there for a long time, supporting the community, and, those businesses will be wiped out. Again, you're bringing in a business from out of state. I understand that they run a great operation and they're a family operation, but they're not here from Michigan. So for all those reasons, including the existing businesses that are there, I would like to support them. And I support all the other businesses, locally owned, family-owned businesses here in Madison Heights. And, we have plenty of those. And I've already asked around to, some of the different residents in the area, and they said, they support those businesses that are existing there now. So what happens to them? Where do they go? Where do they relocate? What happens to their employees? All the other people involved in that business. So it's an important decision, and we ask that you make the right one. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Nobody else out in the hall? Everybody here is good? All right, so I'm going to close public comment, and there were a couple of messages that we did receive that the clerk is going to read.
Hello, esteemed members of our city council. I had planned to attend the council meeting, but due to urgent family matters, I am unable. Thanks to Sheetz for their desire to invest in Madison Heights. I encourage businesses that are complementary to our city's vision to partner with us to find ways and locations to serve our neighboring residents and businesses. However, this is not a development that I can support at this time and at this site, as it does not meet the goals of our city. I urge the city council to deny the special land use request for PSP 24-02. In my opinion, within the document template motions and findings, PSP 24-02, the following sections do not apply in favor of the application. 2, it does not simply serve the persons residing in adjacent residential areas. This development is meant for transient traffic drive-through due its primary business is selling gasoline. It is not compatible with adjacent uses as the adjacent properties are residential and religious. It is not consistent with our 2021 Madison Heights master plan, as there is zero intent to allow for the
Homogeneous?
Yes, of development that will create a crisis in future decades when singular industries like gas stations become legacy infrastructures and their destiny becomes an economic negative for our city. There is no demonstrated need. We do not need a third gas station at this intersection. The site does have an adverse effect on the environment beyond the normal effects of permitted principal uses in the same zoning district. I do not want to encourage investments in legacy infrastructure that will require future residents to approve and pay for brownfield redevelopment plans due to the nature of the underground storage tanks or building obsolescence that would hinder redevelopment in the future. In addition to the findings above, I strongly encourage City Council to consider how this impact is a detriment to our city at this location. We have just arrived at the point in time where our zoning ordinance has the opportunity to meet our intent and goals of our master plan. Our roads are already congested, and this intersection, in my personal experience, is not as safe as we would like for the current amount of in and out traffic, but vehicles exiting and entering against the flow of traffic will actually increase if the use were to change. We should not be allowing for a single short-sighted investments that will disincentivize better overall citywide future investment. To future developers, this specific use would be a red flag signal of our failure to ensure we do what is best for our residents, businesses over the long term. If we want to see good development across the city, we have to send the signal that only the right kinds of things in the right places are acceptable. As a resident, and the reason why I joined the Planning Commission in 2018, I want Madison Heights open for investment, but future development should contribute to our entire community of residents and businesses alike. I encourage council to deny special approval PSP 24-02 Sheets Gasoline Service Station. And then the other letter is from Josh Champagne, I'm sorry.
Our Planning Commission Chair.
The second letter is from Albert Santia. I'm writing to offer my full support for the proposed project at 30901 DeQuinder Road that seeks to bring Sheets as a new tenant to our community. After careful consideration and evaluation of the project details, I firmly believe that this initiative aligns with the visions and goals outlined in the master plan for Madison Heights. Here are the key points I'd like to emphasize. Renovation feasibility. We have thoroughly assessed the feasibility of renovating the existing property, and unfortunately, it has been determined that such renovations are not viable. The existing condition and structural limitations make it impractical to pursue renovations as a viable option. Tenant situation. Currently, all existing tenants are either on a month-to-month lease or have already terminated their leases. This provides an opportune moment for redevelopment without causing undue disruption to current occupants. Tenant relocation. In conjunction with the redevelopment plan, I'm actively working to relocate some tenants to another strip center that I own. This strategy ensures that affected tenants are provided with alternate accommodation options, minimizing any potential hardships during the transition period. Alignment with master plan. The proposed use of bringing Sheets to the property aligns seamlessly with the master plan for Madison Heights. It complements the surrounding area and enhances the overall community experience while adhering to zoning regulations and urban development guidelines. Long-term tenant value. We strongly believe that Sheets will not only bring immediate benefits, but will also serve as a valuable long-term tenant of this property. The reputable brand, commitment to quality, and community engagement makes them ideal fit for our neighborhood. In conclusion, I am confident that the addition of Sheets to our community will contribute positively to our economic growth, enhance the local amenities, and create lasting benefits for residents and businesses alike. Thank you for considering this project, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions or additional information. Sincerely, Albert Santia.
All right, so public comment is closed. Can I get a motion from council, please?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'll give it a go, but I will revise my motion based on our attorney's feedback. So I move that we deny the special approval request, PSP 2402, based on the following criteria. The site is zoned B1 local business, intended to meet the day-to-day convenient shopping and service needs of people residing in the adjacent residential areas. The proposed gas station is not consistent with the intent of that district. The subject site is immediately adjacent to residential and religious uses. The gas station is not compatible with those adjacent land uses. The proposed use is not consistent with the site's commercial future land use designation and is not aligned with the goals and objectives stated in the 2021 Madison Heights Master Plan relating to community character, commercial and industrial development, and transportation networks. The applicant has not demonstrated a need for the proposed use in the specified area of the city. The use would have an adverse effect on the environment beyond normal effects of permitted uses in the same zoning district and could result in impairment, pollution, and/or destruction of air, water, and natural resources. The proposed use is not designed as to the location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation specifically to eliminate the nuisances which would be noxious to occupants of the nearby residential properties. Based on the above findings, the proposed use does not satisfy the special approval standards and criteria listed in section 10.2014.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Yes?
I will support.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to deny. Is there any discussion among council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
could I make a quick question, or have a quick question? The Sheetz gas station would be leasing from the current property owner, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from council?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm just going to note, so I think I received over 50 emails. So in addition to our comments tonight, I received over 50 emails, many in support of the Sheetz development. You know, we have a whole room full of people here that many have spoken, some have not, and that's fine. You don't have to speak. But, you know, you come to show your support for stopping or speaking on behalf of. So I just want to note, I want to note as a council member that, you know, I'm not alone in this, having been bombarded in many ways with, you know, everybody has an opinion on this. We are not taking this lightly in any way. We've thought long and hard about this. It's been on our agenda for a long time. We've known it's coming, and we've had to really think about what the implications are. No one can deny that, you know, the proposed plan is pretty, right? It looks better than what is there right now. You know, but we also know that we have our local businesses that are here in the community and that have been here for many years and would be impacted by this. So I just want to note that I know myself and my fellow council members, we are all having to really weigh many different things when we're looking at this. When I hear support messages, it's very often, you know, we love Sheetz, we go there, we enjoy it. There's all these things that are special to them about their experience with Sheetz over the time. But I think, you know, the way of business is difficult, and many of our gas station owners that are here today, you know, I think what people like, what they see when Sheetz is coming in is not just the sandwiches. I've never had a sandwich from there, so I don't know what it tastes like. But, you know, it's the beautification of their sites that is something that is very attractive to the people in Madison Heights. We all want to live someplace beautiful. We want our homes to be beautiful. We want our communities to be beautiful and well-maintained. And I encourage everyone who has a place in Madison Heights to do that and maintain their businesses, reinvest and make those places beautiful, because I think that when people look at the Sheetz as an investment in the community, they think, wow, it looks really good, right? It feels good to have our place look good, even if we're not living right behind it, right? I've lived behind commercial buildings before, and no matter what it is, it's hard. It's harder to live next to a commercial building than not. And it's not like, you know, the folks that live there now live by a commercial building. So it wouldn't necessarily be a giant change. I'm just saying all of these things because I want it to be very clear that myself and everybody on council none of us are taking this lightly. We are thinking long and hard about this. We're taking everybody's input, and we want to do the best for this community. So that's where I'm going to stop talking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on council have any questions, comments?
Your Honor,
Mr. Wright?
I just want to commend the community, both business and residential, for coming out and making sure your voice was heard. I got to tell you, I haven't been on the council 10 years like some of the guys to my left and right, but I've never seen so many folks come out to express their opinion explicitly about an issue pertaining to this community. So I want to commend you guys, but I also want to encourage you to keep doing it on future issues as well. Oftentimes, groups come in here and literally as soon as it's over, this place is like a ghost town. And that's kind of where we get back to the vacuum. So while we have this audience here, I want to encourage you guys to not leave us in the vacuum until there's an issue on the table for you. That's how we create a bigger community, and that's how we all know how each other feels. As Councilor Rohrbach kind of said, I think we all got, she said 50, but I think she was being modest. I think it was at least 100 emails I got, and I'm not alone. This isn't just like a Councilor Quinn thing. I know my counterparts got them as well. It's for and against. So to echo her sentiment, this is it's good to see the community engaged and make this a very challenging decision for us to see the businesses owner. As a small business owner myself, I definitely understand how complex these times can be. So thank you guys for coming out and expressing yourselves.
Any other comments from council?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so ditto with Councilman Wright and Councilor Wright and Councilor Rohrbach on the emails. And we love that kind of support, both for and against. And as Councilor Rohrbach said, it's not a decision that we've taken lightly. We've been digging on this item for a while, and I went to one of the open houses that Sheetz had. There's lots of things about the proposal that I like, but I need to echo the concerns of the Planning Commission. I also have those concerns. I found it interesting that the attorney wanted to make sure we understood that the consideration for the proposal had to be grandfathered in under the old zoning ordinance, but yet in his speech, he wanted to make sure that we understood that the new ordinance had the churches being non-residential. So, seems like if one's grandfathered in, the other should still be grandfathered in and be considered a residential area. It can be. So those are some of the thoughts that are running through my head. And I had some more, but they're gone at the moment. But again, I know your tanks are wonderful and they won't leak. That's great. But as a few people have pointed out, if this is approved, then that site immediately becomes a legally non-conforming use area, and there's nothing else we can do with it. It can't remain a gas station. So if the day comes where we have all electric cars and we don't need gas stations anymore, it's going to be a mess to clean that place up, whether you have nice tanks or not. So those are my concerns with the area. Like I said, I really like a lot of the things that I've heard about Sheetz and researched about Sheetz and a lot of the emails we've received. Another location seems like it would be a better choice for me. But
All right, thank you. Mr. Wright, you had something?
I had a logistical question from an environmental perspective. The jurisdiction of, like we've talked a lot about those tanks underground today, and I don't know if it had rung a bell and anybody else is there, but who does, are we checking those? Is the state checking those?
State checks those. All
Okay, all right, thank you.
right, any other comments from council?
Your Honor.
Yes?
Yeah, so I think, beyond echoing the sentiments, I don't know if it was a short straw or a long straw, but I was privy to sitting through the presentation previously with the Planning Commission. And you heard from a couple other members of our Planning Commission. It was a lot of the same slides, a lot of the same discussion. And generally speaking, I'm torn. I want to be pro-business. I want the increase in taxes. I want to be able to take that money and invest in our police and our fire and all the things that make this community great and safe and walkable. But the planning commission noted in that meeting several concerns, and I don't think those concerns have been, alleviated. I'll just run through some of them just so you can kind of understand the thinking of what myself and other members of council are going through right now. The commissioners noted that it wasn't a fit with the master plan. It's on the edge of the district. It needs a zoning variance, and most specifically, it's a 24-hour gas station directly abutting residential. Now, I can't speak for previous councils who allowed it at other locations, but in this specific site, the distance with those residents and the amount of fuel pumps, the light pollution and the noise and the smells is definitely something that concerns me and concerned the planning commission. I also was watching, as those letters of support were coming in, what was particularly important for me was seeing letters of support from the neighbors who are actually in that residential development adjacent to where Sheetz is proposing. And I didn't see those come through. It was noted too many gas stations. I won't dwell on that. But I would note that if this project was just a restaurant and not a fuel center, it would open without ever having to go to council. Now, there is a traffic study. The Planning Commission had some concerns about the traffic study. The argument that it wouldn't negatively affect traffic there due to the change in use from small businesses, retail, grocery, and restaurant uses into a gas station like this, I just don't, I don't personally believe it, and I don't think that the study validates that. Their Austintown, Ohio location had a backup so bad around rush hour that the company had to have flaggers go out and help with traffic. And that's something that's concerning to me at this intersection. I would also note, while the company was touting the 30 or so jobs, good paying jobs and benefits, it was noted to the Planning Commission that more than 90% of those employees at the location are part-time, aside from a couple of managers at the stores, so they wouldn't reap those same benefits, they wouldn't have access to that. And the numbers that I was given is that we would have a net loss in jobs if we approved this, which is concerning to me as well. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is just kind of tactics. I've been in the seat for a decade or so, as Councilor Wright noted, and I've never seen a development push like this. Normally, a large development like this would have the open town halls, they would meet with the residents and adjoining neighborhoods and businesses. We've done that a couple of times, specifically in recent memory, with large-scale developments, some that completely changed a footprint where we had to merge multiple lots, and they specifically not just mailed, but sent somebody door to door to every one of those residents. And I would have loved to have seen something like that here. I mean, as a marketing exec, I love, the flashy materials like this. I appreciated how it got our citizens engaged in this topic, but it was a one-way engagement that didn't allow for a discussion back and forth in the way that I would have liked to have seen that we were able to do with previous developments, which potentially left those residents, and small businesses that are affected out of the conversation, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm glad that we had that conversation here tonight. And then the other thing that I don't like is it was noted in this conversation, it was put on the record in the presentation, that the owner will not make investments with the existing businesses there, but it's the same owner that would be bringing in Sheetz. And so that frustrates me personally. My vote is specifically tied to the fact that the adjacent land use is not compatible. The residential there with the 24-hour gas station, that's a problem. But I will note that I don't like those strong arm tactics, and I think that the residents of Madison Heights deserve better than a property owner saying, I won't make repairs unless you bring in this gas station.
All right. Okay, anyone else on council have anything they'd like to add? All right, Mr. Sherman, is there any changes you would like to make to the motion that Pro Tem Bliss has made?
In order for me to respond to that question, Your Honor, I would have to have the clerk read the motion back. It was very comprehensive, and then I can weigh in on
All right, thank you.
what the motion might or might not need in addition to what was on the floor.
Thank you.
You'll have to correct me if I have it wrong, because I was going to re-listen to it. So I have.
The odds be ever in your favor.
I have moved to deny the special approval request, number PSP 24-02, based upon the following findings pertaining to the special approval criteria of section 10.201, sub 4. 1, the applicant requests special approval for gasoline service station at 30901 DeQuinder Road under the section 10.3192 of the zoning ordinances. Uses permissible on special approval in the B1 district. The subject site is Zone B1 local business, which is intended to meet the day-to-day convenience shopping and service needs of persons residing in adjacent residential areas. The proposed gas station is not consistent with the intent of the B1 zoning district, is not compatible with, and is not no more objectionable than principal uses, and is, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it was is not or is no more objectionable than principal uses permitted by right in the B1 zoning district. The subject site is immediately adjacent to properties improved with and zoned for residential and religious uses, and the location across the street from the auto-oriented uses and commercial zoning. The proposed gas station is not compatible with adjacent land uses. Oh, I'm sorry. The subject site is immediately adjacent to residential zoning. The proposed gas station is not compatible with adjacent land uses. The proposed use is not consistent with the site's commercial future land use designation and is not aligned with the goals and objectives stated in the 2021 Madison Heights Master Plan relating to community character, commercial and industrial development, and transportation networks. The applicant has not demonstrated a need for the proposed use in the specified area of the city. The use does have an adverse effect on the environment beyond the normal effects of permitted principal uses in the zoning district and does result in an impairment, pollution, and/or destruction of air, water, and natural resources. Proposed use is not designed as to location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation to eliminate any possible nuisances which may be noxious to the occupants of nearby properties. And based on the above findings, the proposed use does not generally satisfy the special approval review standards and criteria listed in section 10.201, sub 4.
All right, thank you.
If I messed that up, I apologize.
Okay, Mr. Sherman, is there any changes you would make?
First of all, the motion was very comprehensive. It was well-made based on the record presented, but the one thing I think is missing from the motion is the notion that the fact that the proposed use is a 24-hour operation is what makes it not compatible in the maker of the motion and supports opinion with neighborhood-oriented uses permitted by right in a B1 district. And the same thing goes for the comments relating to nuisances. You're talking about a 24-hour operation where nuisances such as noise, light, fumes, activity of this type of 24-hour operation adjacent to residential use is a concern. And it doesn't have to comply with every single criteria that's listed in 10.201 sub 4, but you're looking at many of these criteria. You're applying the facts to these criteria. So if council's asking what I would propose to the maker and support to include in the motion, would be the notion that it's a 24-hour operation that creates the issue of not being a compatible use with adjacent property uses. It's a 24-hour operation that doesn't make it compatible with other uses that are generally permitted in a B1, because B1 is supposed to be family local business like a barber shop, a beauty salon, a pharmacy, a bakery, things of that sort. And that's really, I think, the intent of your motion anyway, but if you want to be more specific, to incorporate the fact that it's the 24-hour operation that makes it incompatible with surrounding uses, and as I indicated, in terms of the environment and other things, that's what I would add to the motion.
All right, Mr. Bliss?
Your Honor, I will amend my motion to include the 2 points that the city attorney just mentioned.
All right, and Mr. Fleming, do you agree?
I agree.
All right, so we have a slightly revised motion. Are there any other comments from council? All right, so we are going to.
Can we have an opportunity to respond? I had asked that at the end of my comments earlier, to respond to the questions and the points that were raised.
I'm going to give you the 3 minutes that I gave everybody else, so please go ahead.
David?
There's a motion on the floor, it needs to be voted on.
Actually, that's a good question. Mr. Sherman, we're voting.
Your Honor.
Because everyone could just, everyone, please.
Your Honor, first of all, as the mayor said, the 3-minute rule that council adopts does not relate to the applicant who's making the presentation and is requesting special approval. So that rule doesn't apply to the applicant. And yes, Mr. Gaber asked whether he would have the opportunity to respond to any of the points made still during meeting open to the public. And even though the public hearing has been closed on the special use approval, I think Mr. Gaber should be given the opportunity to be heard on any follow-up information you might have for council before council votes on the motion on the floor.
All right, Mr. Gaber, you have 3 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to address a couple of points that have been made, but first, I'd like to again remind the council of the widespread community support. I know we had a community meeting. We reached out to the community directly and invited everybody to come and have a conversation with us. I think we've provided a large number of support letters that are in front of you tonight, along with a map detailing where those letters came from. You see some widespread support here in Madison Heights for this development, including some support letters that are from right next door. And in fact, you had a resident here tonight from next door, that was right in the condo complex, that came and spoke in favor of this and actually came out to the community meeting and heard what we had to say. I would like the council to take into consideration that. I would also.
Please, let him speak.
I would also like the council to take into consideration, we do have competition here. We appreciate that. Sheetz introduces a very healthy level of competition into the marketplace, and certainly it can be apprehensive for some. Sheetz does not see fuel stations next to our site shut down. In fact, we tend to see them reinvest in the community. And what that does is that continues to build up their, relationship with their customers, as they've said tonight. So I think what you would see instead of fuel stations closing down, you would see them reinvest, and you would see them improve their properties and continue to improve their businesses. And it's good for competition around the city of Madison Heights. The other thing I'd like to note is that Sheetz is uniquely poised in the environment to be future prepared. We future prepare for EV parking spaces. We are Tesla's #1 third-party vendor in the country. We have 114 sites where we have Tesla superchargers at our sites. Sheetz is, at this moment, testing our own EV charging platform that Sheetz would own, operate, and maintain. So when EV is here in the future, we're going to be able to take out our fuel tanks. We're going to be able to take down our canopies potentially and put in EV charging stations. And as we all know, EV chargers take some time. People would be able to come into our store, have a sandwich, shoot an email off, have a cup of coffee, and by that point, they're, maybe even use the restroom. And at that point, their car would then be charged. So that would uniquely place us above our competition as being future-proofed. So those are just some of the things I'd like to know. We can talk about the tenants. I think you've seen in the letter that we submitted tonight, that this site is being redeveloped and the tenants are already leaving. So I would just like you to consider the widespread community support that we've been able to garner here, as well as how Sheetz is poised for the future with EV charging, among all the other points that we've made here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. And with that, any other comments, questions from council? All right, so the motion before us is to deny. So if we vote yes, we are denying. If we vote no, we are not denying. Clear with that? All right. All in favor of denying, please say yes. Yes. All in favor of not denying, please say no. Motion has unanimously been denied. We're taking a 5-minute break. We are in recess for 5 minutes. Yeah. Meeting came back at about 9:28. I open to the public, so please, podium if anyone wishes to speak. Seeing no one, I'm going to close meeting open to the public. And we have on the consent agenda 5 items. We have from the Director of Public Services, the 2024 National Public Works Week, from the Director of Public Services, the 2024-25 Stormwater Services Proposal, from the Fire Chief, the 2024 Oakway Mutual Aid Association and Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Division, 3202 Interlocal Agreement, from the City Manager, membership of Michigan Municipal Association for Utilities Issues, MI Maui, and the City Council regular meeting minutes of April 15th. Thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor?
I don't know who wishes to go.
Oh, you just kind of threw me off too there. Motion to accept the consent agenda as read by you, the mayor.
Thank you. Is there any, is there support?
Your Honor, all support.
All right, thank you. Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All against, say no. Motion carries and has been approved. And next up, we have bid awards purchases from the city manager, the Civic Center Park band shell.
The City of Madison Heights was awarded a $250,000 grant from Consumers Energy Foundation for the construction of a band shell at Civic Center Park. City Council approved the purchase of the basic band shell structure materials on January the 22nd for $71,063. Since that time, we have worked with Frank Rewall & Sons on a construction proposal utilizing the Oakland County Annual Construction Manager contract that would construct this basic band shell with materials and also include enhancements of 2 storage rooms, sidewalks, and electricity. The total cost of this project will be $357,381 with a contract proposal from Frank Rewall of $287,317. Staff recommends that City Council approve the proposal for the amphitheater with Frank Rewall & Sons under the Oakland County Annual Construction Management Contract in an amount not to exceed $287,317 and authorize the city manager to sign on behalf of the city. This will exceed the grant amount by $107,381. However, funding is available in the park improvement line item due to the $50,000 special project funding that we added to the budget several years ago, and also other park improvements that we have managed to get grants for.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the proposal for the amphitheater with Frank Rewald and Sons, Inc. under the Oakland County Annual Contraction Management Contract in an amount not exceeding $287,317, and also authorize the city manager to sign on behalf of the city.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Not to dig too deep, but what the city manager didn't say is the increase is to ensure that we do it right so that this amphitheater will be around for decades. To be able to build it right with construction costs where they're at. This is exactly the reason why a few years ago I recommended this special projects fund, because having that additional $50,000 set aside every year allows us to ensure that when we get grant funding, like we got the $250,000 for this band shell, we're able to do the construction right. So I fully support it, and I believe the Arts Board does too.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. And then we have from the CED Director, Ordinance 2199, the rezoning for PRZN 23-02. It's 1035 West 12 Mile from B3 to M1. This is the first reading.
The applicant and property owner of 1035 West 12 Mile requests to rezone one parcel of land from B3 General Business, Regional Business in the proposed zoning ordinance district to M1 Light Industrial District. The subject site consists of one parcel which consists of a total area of .93 acres and is improved with a 6,500 commercial retail structure and associated parking lot. The property is located just west of 12 Mile I-75 interchange. Staff recommends that City Council adopt Ordinance 2199 upon first reading and schedule a public hearing and second reading for the June 10th City Council meeting.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council? Oh, I guess I need to open the public hearing. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this?
No.
It's not.
They're scheduling a public hearing for June the 10th.
Oh, okay, so then what is the wish of council? Yes, sorry.
Your Honor, I move that we approve ordinance 2199 on first reading and then schedule second reading and public hearing at the next council meeting.
Your Honor,
June 10th.
Yes,
it's not actually the
The
next
next
council
council
meeting,
meeting.
it's the June 10th.
Okay, at the June 10th, I will amend.
thank you. All right, is there support?
Your Honor,
Yes,
I will support.
thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
can we hear about the reasoning behind this and what the implications will be for the city if we do end up changing?
Sure. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, thank you, Counselor. This is related to a consent judgment between the city and the property owner for a marijuana use that was approved a couple meetings ago. As part of the consent judgment, the applicant and the property owner had to proceed through the rezoning process, going from a commercial B3 district to an M1 because we only allow this type of use in the M1 district. It is going to be if it is approved, to be folded into the new zoning ordinance map. It would be technically the first rezoning, first rezoning of our new zoning map. But in order for this project to go through, this parcel has to be rezoned to an M1. We'll also have to do an ordinance amendment to the green map that we have, which is outside of the zoning ordinance. And then the parcels would be combined to allow for that development.
Thank you. I do have questions. So this is tied to the settlement that a few members of council wanted to see happen. So we have the settlement. I guess the majority of council decided to vote for that settlement. So this is tied to that. So we're basically, at this point, we have to do this in order to comply with our settlement agreement. Is that correct?
I defer to the attorney on that. That is listed as one of the required steps within the settlement agreement.
Mr. Sherman?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's correct. So when we vote here today on this, it's to make this change because we have a settlement agreement that majority members of council here decided to make it so that we have several more marijuana cannabis industry businesses in the city, especially this one here at the corner of 12 Mile and I-75. Is that correct?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't think it's several more. It was in conjunction with one, changing the amendment to increase the permitted number of businesses. I think the number was from 3 to 5.
So, okay, a couple more, so two more instead of several more,
Right.
but potentially because we are also probably
Right.
going to be sued by others, so maybe others.
Right, and then
beyond that.
because of our ordinance, the way we've done it, that type of use is not permitted in a B3 general business zone, and that's the reason for the requested change
Okay,
to
so,
rezone.
so we're good here changing this to fit that, but not other things. I just wanted to make a note of that, so when we vote today to say, yes, we're making this change, it is because we are kind of required to, based on the settlement that the majority of council and the mayor decided to push through. Is that correct?
Well, I would say it a little differently. A consent judgment is a court order that is pursuant to the court order. A provision in the court order provides that the city's obligated to change the zoning from B3 to M1. So it's, you're actually, the city, as the party to the case, has been ordered to do that. So not just the majority, but it's the whole city.
Well, the whole city, but, you know,
Yeah.
not everybody on the council voted to make that agreement of settlement with the plaintiffs. Just wanted to make that really clear. Thank you.
Is there anything else?
That's all.
All right, any other comments from council?
Your Honor, just if the staff can clarify two things. The first is this project includes two parcels. One is already zoned correctly. The other parcel directly next door is the one we're discussing here. And then if you could read, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to support this at the last meeting. I don't know if you could highlight a couple of their findings.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The Mayor Pro Tem is correct. This project does involve two separate, currently two separate parcels, one of which is, I forget the name of the business, it's the blue building closest to I-75. That is currently zoned M1 Light Industrial and is located within the green zone, so to speak. The parcel right next door, which most recently was a liquor store or strip center, is B3 General Business, not located within the green zone. The project that has been presented to the city as part of the settlement agreement involves both of those parcels. But in order for that project and that site plan to be approved, the rezoning needs to take place and a parcel combination needs to take place, so that this is all on one parcel. We don't do split zoning here, so we can't have one parcel with two different districts. That's one of the reasons for the rezoning. The major one being, though, that M1 is the only district that allows for adult use and marijuana-related uses. And then if I can,
Go
sorry.
ahead. You're probably going to say the same thing.
I can read if the mayor would like the planning commission motion.
Sure.
Yeah, so the motion, the recommendation from the planning commission was a recommendation to city council to approve the requested rezoning of 1035 West 12 Mile Road from B3 General Business to M1 Light Industrial after the required public hearing based upon the following findings. One, the M1 district permits a range of industrial, warehousing, office, recreational, and limited retail uses which are generally appropriate for the subject site. Two, the intent of and the uses permitted within the M1 district are generally compatible and consistent with the adjacent industrial and commercial land uses. Three, the M1 district is compatible with adjacent B3 and M1 zone parcels. And four, the M1 district is aligned with the industrial future land use designation for the site and furthers the land use goals and objectives of the adopted master plan.
All right, thank you. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Yes?
Your Honor, I guess I'll just ask the question. If we're obligated to do this, then why do we have to vote?
Bureaucracy, but Mr. Sherman, do you want to give the reason, or Mrs.
Well,
Marsh?
technically, technically, the reason why a vote is required is without a vote on the rezoning, then it's not going to comply with the consent judgment, and it's technically, we're court-ordered to do it in order for it to comply, and then the overlay on the green zone map will have to be changed once the rezoning is completed, if council approves it on second reading. If council were to deny it, then we'd be in violation of the terms of the consent judgment.
Well, and I will just add one thing that I started to mention a minute ago. The original application for this particular marijuana facility did not include this parcel. That came out through the negotiations and to help with the traffic flow on the site. So they included this at our request, basically, in order to make the site better and in order to help traffic flow with that. So originally, they did not come to us and propose use on a B3. They were in compliance with our ordinance, so.
Any other questions? Comments, questions from council? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no.
No.
Mr. Wright, was that you? All right. Motion carries 6-1. Okay, that is it for our regular meeting. I'm going to invite closing comments, starting with Mr. Mear.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, interesting night. As Ms. Covert pointed out, I came in here with a lot of positive thoughts on Sheetz and a few negatives. Great conversation with the residents. I appreciate them coming out. As Councilor Wright said, it's nice to see people actually filling this room rather than being a ghost town. So, and I think through that whole conversation, I think my fellow council people and we came to a common sense of it just doesn't make sense in that spot. But happy National Police Week. I love that we're celebrating our men in blue and those that have given it all. Our men and women in blue. And next week is Public Services Week, so appreciate all the support and work they put in for the city. This past weekend was Little League opener, which was a lot of fun, a little wet, but thank you, Mayor Grafstein and Councilman Fleming and Melissa, or City Manager Marsh for bowling a perfect strike.
Hey, my ball made it there. Not exactly to home plate, but it made it.
No, I think we all threw perfect strikes, actually. I don't think there's any recording that will deny that. So thank you for that coming out. Like I said, it was a great start and a little wet, but hey, we got through it. Also, this weekend, I am heading to Mount Pleasant for the MML elected officials gathering, training, and sessions in Mount Pleasant this weekend, so looking forward to that. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bliss?
Yes, Your Honor, just a couple things tonight. First, I want to thank our Planning Commission. We got a couple members here in the audience still after this long meeting, which total commendation for that. It's interesting, I get to work on a wide variety of projects on council. I get to do really fun and exciting things like trail tunes, and we got the band shell coming in, and so many really fun and exciting things. But I also get to do kind of the nuts and bolts of the city government, and a lot of that's in the Planning Commission. My favorite memory is the 3 hours that we spent talking about the height of flagpoles and how many and where flagpoles should be located in a specific property. And I only say that to say that the people on the Planning Commission deserve a lot of kudos, because the detail that went into the zoning plan and amendment that we passed tonight, I think is so incredible. And frankly, most cities could not have achieved what we did. We were able to because we have a phenomenal staff. We had exceptional consultants working with us, and we had a planning commission of professionals who work in the space. It really, really helps. Even so much so that we created a small working group with staff and members of the Planning Commission that worked out quite a few issues that I think might not have even been brought to the table in another community going about this. So I just want to say hats off to them. Super thankful to have such a stellar Planning Commission, because not a lot of cities do. I also want to point out and ask staff if we could consider a resolution to our representatives in the state about predatory lending. We've talked a lot about things like turning a liquor store into a cannabis shop, but we haven't had much conversation outside of the Planning Commission as it relates to payday loan predatory lenders and the damage that they do within our city. And I know there's a separate discussion that has been brought on with Planning Commission for us to look into ways that we can manage, regulate, and mitigate those businesses in our city and to stop the proliferation of them, like the check cashing places. But at the same time, I think 6 days ago, it was brought to the floor of the legislature to be able to crack down on some of those interest rates. And I'd love to express our support as a municipality, and frankly, to ask them to go further. I think there should be limits. I think that they should be regulated to the same degree that pawn shops are regulated. It's just kind of a missing gap, and the amount of residents in our city that get hurt by it is astounding. Like I said, we've had hours of conversations about this liquor store turning into a cannabis shop, but we have yet to have a public conversation in for or against these types of predatory lending practices. And so I'd like to see that on a future agenda.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wright?
First, I want to just jump back to acknowledging and saying thank you to our officers that have served us and who have lost their lives. Being a police officer, particularly in this day, is deeply complex, and that's also why I support us getting co-responders to help them in any way we can to make that job easier and help the community in having safe interactions and everyone to just go home and do what they need to do. But particularly to the officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty. My brother is a DPD cop. My grandfather was a constable. My brother-in-law's, one is a retired fireman, the other one is a chief battalion. And like when, we talk about it so glowingly and ceremoniously, but when you're like in the grittiness of it, it is not glorious. And the hand claps we give them is nothing for like what they actually deal with. And sometimes it's a little bit pandering to them because they literally just stepped in front of somebody, or they literally just saved somebody's life, or just woke somebody up from dying. Like, our claps don't do justice for like the jobs that are done by public safety officials. So my heart and my thanks go out to those people who sacrifice, and to their families who have to deal with the real life consequences of it. Part of that, I also, just to transition to talk about Mental Health Awareness Week, just acknowledge that like we live in like what seems like an eternal winter in Michigan sometimes. I don't know why, but like the cloudy skies they're not fun, guys. For me, I won't speak for you, I'll speak for me. I'll speak to the camera. They're not fun for me. But I think what we need to do is just recognize we're all doing our best. We don't have to agree, but we can just try to be kind to each other. I am also a small business owner, so when we talked about Sheetz today, and to have the owners of the gas station talking about struggling and what it's like to go against competition. I work for big corporations and also work for myself now, and so the tough part about going against big corporations is they do a flip-flop. They come in and then like they've dragged the bottom of the market out, and they charge a cheap price until they force everyone out, then they jack the price back up. And so you think you're winning, but you're really losing by, death by 1,000 cuts. So my heart goes out to the small business owners in our community. Keep investing in our community. Like, fight for you to stay here, but fight to be a part of our community as well. Fight to be a part of our programs. I know we talked about Trail Tunes. I know we have Juneteenth coming up. We're going to try and pull off a car show in the fall. Like, get engaged in our community outside of when there's a threat to your business, because that builds the ties that make these conversations a lot easier for us to have. It's one thing, when you feel threatened to come in, but it's another if, like, we know you before big corporations come in. We know your struggles. And so I just want to encourage them to keep being a part of our communities, keep giving in that way. And finally, I'm very happy that we passed the ordinances and we redid the master plan and we got some new rules. I kind of talked to Giles about it, but I got to tell you, I don't know what cars were like in 1967 and 55 when these houses were built, but like our cars do not fit in our driveways. So I thought they were smaller, but I guess they're all bigger because everyone here, I think, has an SUV or a truck. I have a big crew cab, and they don't fit in the driveway. And so I just want to ask staff to check into what we can do about an ordinance that allows for some uniformity, but also doesn't allow us to like have mud tracks along our driveways. And I thought about for our 2-lane driveways, maybe it's just us because they're smaller, but my first home I bought here, it was a single-lane driveway, and it was the same thing. You barely fit. So the uniformity of the driveway has to be there, but also, we have to find a way to look at some innovative options for the cars of today, the SUVs. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sherman?
Very briefly, Your Honor, first of all, I said this over a period of many years. I was fortunate enough to be in Washington, D.C. for National Police Week, which we're commemorating with our proclamation, and it is just an unbelievable outpouring of support for the police. It's very inspirational. I would recommend it to anybody to be in Washington, D.C. during that week. Other than that, I would just say that I hope everyone had a nice Mother's Day yesterday.
Thank you. Mrs. Marsh? Anything from the clerk's office? Councilor Rohrbach?
I'm just going to note that we are nearing the end of the school year. I know we have that Memorial Day parade coming and the end of the school year. So I know that many families are in for the marathon that is the end of the school year. So if you've got graduating seniors, if you've got graduating fifth graders or eighth graders. I swear, we graduate every couple of years around here. So there are a lot of things that are coming up, honors for all different kinds of kids and different things that are happening. I know that the Lamphere art show for the elementary and high or middle schools are tomorrow. There's just so many things in the next few weeks. And I am really excited about it because not only do I get to go and participate as a parent, but, it's really wonderful to see our community out being a community, being together in, no matter what our differences are, our kids still go to school together and we are, neighbors and we have to be together. We have to find ways to, work through the differences that we have. So I just encourage us all to celebrate together and celebrate one another. This, I won't talk about that, but the next thing is the Environmental Citizens Committee is hosting our next native plant sale on May 26th. That's the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, from 2 to 5 in front of the police station out here in the parking lot. It is a great event, super easy, just roll up, pick out your native plants, and get ready to plant your garden for the summer. Several years ago now, I bought maybe 10, 15 little plants, and now my entire front garden is nothing but native plants, and the secret is it's the easiest garden I've ever had in my life. So everybody, please come out and support the Environmental Citizens Committee and buy your native plants. May 26th, 2 to 5 out here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fleming?
Yeah, the Memorial Day Parade is in a couple of weeks. I'm pretty excited for that. It's a great honor to honor our veterans, our fallen comrades. As a member of the VFW, we've always participated in the event itself. This year, the lineup is not going to be happening at Wilkinson Middle School. It's going to be happening around Huffman Park. So if you live in the area around Huffington Park, or Huffman Park, I'm sorry, that you should be aware that the lineup is going to be there and expect that you're probably not going to be able to get out of your driveway, or you can get out of the driveway probably, but there's going to be a lot of people there. So I'm asking for everybody's patience with the parade's new lineup. It gives us a way to be more organized and have the parade take off in a good way. And I'm looking forward to all the residents that are going to be supporting the parade. And we're still looking for volunteers and still accepting last-minute organizations, individuals, and others who want to actually be in the parade. The city Facebook page has been putting out the flyer that we have for a long time, and you can go there and find the flyer and email us or fill out the registration form. That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Soltis?
Thank you, Your Honor. I wish I had a green thumb because I planted a fern last summer and it died. So I had a burial for it. But on a good note, we went to Lansing after 6 years of COVID and everything and the scare for the Older Michiganian Day. And it was a little different. But we had just as many as before. I think we had like 50 residents that came with us. One of them was my mom, and so we had a great time. And it's amazing that every time I come up there, we are the only ones that are organized with our seniors. Everyone else is like sporadic, and so they had a great time. Although they couldn't go through some of the part of the Capitol, but we did go up to like we always do, up to the gallery, and then I go down and submit a note, and then they all give a standing ovation for the seniors, and so they really appreciated that. And I think next council meeting, we're going to invite some of the seniors that came, and then we'll have the pictures and stuff that everybody can see as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to staff for all the work that you did preparing, giving us all the background for everything that we've done. You can go online, you can read our minutes, you can see what the agenda is. But a lot of things that seem to be done very quickly. There's a lot that you're not seeing. It's like the iceberg you see when we make this decision, but what you don't see is all the work that's done in the past. So the budget work, I mean, we took 3 minutes to approve that tonight, but there was a lot of work that went in beforehand. The zoning ordinance, we've been working on that for years. And again, it was pretty quickly done here. And tonight with the sheet situation, as it's been alluded to, I think we all received several emails, messages, phone calls, just, people reaching out one way or the other. And we have to follow certain rules when we approve or don't approve things. And this change that we're making for the M1 to B3, or the B3 to M1, we couldn't just say, we're going to do it. We have to go through the process, and the same with the gas station. It couldn't just be people called and said, you should approve it or you shouldn't approve it, and we walk in and we say, okay, I'm going to approve it or I'm not. We have to have very specific reasons, which is why I asked our attorney to make sure that we were doing this in a way that would be proper. It wasn't just, because we heard so many people saying one way or the other. So I appreciate everyone sitting through for this. Thank you for indulging me in taking that break. It did go a little bit longer than expected, but this has been one of the longest meetings we've had in quite a while. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting. The time is 10 o'clock. Thank you. Good night.